What's good, gamers? Akelon here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. In today's video, we're looking into the light. That's right, let's be real. The light's coming has been teased now for a while. Basically, since, I believe, Legion, we've had murmurings of an army of the light. 1,000 Years of War actually proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the army of the light is a very real threat. It's a very real thing. And then, of course, we had Ural, and we saw what the Army of the Light was doing in Alternative Draenor. Since that time, a lot of us have been asking the same question. Where is Ural? Where is this Army of the Light? Why exactly does this army exist? What is it that this army is trying to achieve? Now, we are going to touch on that in this video. Towards the end, a little bit more, I will talk about what I think the Army of the Light is going to do, and when, specifically when, we'll finally see the Army of the Light show up. But before we can get into that, I think I may have found a relatively interesting answer to a specific whisper from Xal'atath. Now, yes, it should come as no surprise to any of you that the whispers of Xal'atath still, to this day, haunt me in my dreams.
A servant of the old gods. Let us consume it.
Knock, knock.
Because there are so many whispers of the old gods and Xal'atath that have either, to some extent, turned out to be true, or sometimes just there's no answers to a lot of these. For example, the boy king serves at the master's table, 3 lies will he offer you. Still a sort of, well, what? Who was this about? Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe some of you have some answers as to what you think that whisper could absolutely be. I've always had speculation theories, and I've shared those with you in the past, but that's just one example of the hundreds of whispers out there that we still don't quite understand where they should be fitting in. But the whisper I'm talking about today, very specifically, is from Xal'atath, and it is when Xal'atath speaks about the Naru. And we find out that, according to Xal'atath at least, because she says that the Naru, not the light, which is a mistake I've made in the past, actually. I have always said that she claims that the light will return to the Masters in time, but she's very specifically speaking about the Naru, and that the Naru consider them to be monsters, to be resisted, and to be defeated, but that the Void does not share that view. The Void merely sees them as brothers and sisters who have lost their way, and that they will return to the Masters in time. Which, I mean, once I recognized that's like, because it's like different. I know, technically speaking, when you think about the light, you think about the Naru, because that's the only version of the light we have ever really seen in its purest form. Yes, we have paladins, and yes, we have priests, and that's all cool, but the fact is, when you think about the light, you almost immediately think about the Naru, because we've never seen anything other than the Naru doing things on Azeroth, shall we say. It's very interesting that Xal'atath specifically speaks about the Naru, and that they will return to their masters in time. So, in order to get into this theory, in order to get to our destination, we have to maybe look back a little bit to the past, and here we have to go to my theory. And normally I wouldn't build theories on theories, but I have found myself lately having to do that more and more, where, because a lot of the things in World of Warcraft is just at the moment up in the air. There's just so much of the original lore that is questionable, to say the least. And there's not been a lot of concrete answers. Dragonflight didn't really deal with cosmological level threats, so we didn't really get a lot of the answers to these cosmological questions. Hopefully, in War of Within, there will be a larger focus on outside threats, and, you know, this will immediately lead to some of the answers to some of these questions, hopefully. But I have a theory, and I'm not going to recap the whole theory. You can go watch that video on your own time, but I have a theory that suggests that everything in our universe, at least everything that we know, came from the exact same place. And no, it's not what you think. Maybe Holy can use some paint skills here, or whatever other skills he's developed to show this to you. But in my view, the Origin Titans, and this may blow some of your minds, the Origin Titans, the only two Titans that actually exist in our world, is Azeroth and Argus. Maybe they're the last two left, maybe they were the only two ever made, but I believe that they are the true Titans. The Titans, when they came upon Azeroth, saw what Azeroth was, and decided to claim themselves as being Titans. That way, they legitimized their position and also their work within the Great Beyond. So they basically looked at what was happening to Azeroth, and they said, wait a second, we can't go around telling people we were made inside a Zeroth realm, and we are here to bring order to this universe, but never mind the fact that we're here to order this planet that clearly wasn't made inside a Zeroth realm. So they decided to co-opt the origin story of Azeroth and Argus. Did they know at the time of Argus? Most likely not, but they could have. There's every reason to believe that Sargeras may have shared with them this planet that he once found, or perhaps he found it after the Titans had already been slaughtered. We won't know, but they definitely came upon Azeroth, and I think they looked at what happened there and they said, this is a much better origin story. We'll just claim that we too came from inside Titans, and that'll be the end of that, right? No one can question our legitimacy if we too were born inside these planets, and we're now Titans too. So I believe that something much larger took place in our galaxy. I believe that when you go to the Broker's Whispers and you listen to them saying that there were two forces, and then the two forces, one of them became 6 and then eventually 7 and created the Great Beyond as we know it today. The other force, the outside force, they don't know exactly what happened to that force. They have no idea. I believe the Brokers, they understood at least one part of the creation. What they didn't understand is that second force, the force that's just gone, they don't know where it went, that's actually the force that they call the First Ones. The original force that created the planets and the Great Beyond and then the 6 cosmological forces, that was Azeroth and Argus, or whichever force Azeroth and Argus serves, created the origin of our universe. And each of these cosmological forces, correctly so, were meant to keep each other in balance, because each of these 6 cosmological forces are required for life to physically exist. Without all 6 of these, life cannot exist. You need them. The first ones arrived, incapable of creating life, and said, never mind this, we'll just take this. Because when you look at the creations of the first ones, you look at the Titans, you look at the Eternal Ones, what they are masters of is co-opting things that already exist. They themselves do not create anything. They just co-opt what already is. I actually believe, and this is maybe a bit of a side theory, but I will share it with you because I don't know if there's enough there to make a video on it. I actually don't believe that the Titans made the constructs. I don't believe that anything that the Titans claim they made, they actually made. The Earth and all of the servants that they once made. Remember, the Titans have one word for ordering and creation. Just one. What if mortals already existed on Azeroth? What if there were already humans? What if there were already dwarfs and gnomes and elves and trolls and all the rest of it? The Titans happened upon the world and they kind of decided, you know what, this will not do. Screw this. Nah. These things having their own minds and doing their own things, this is far too messy. Let's just turn them into stone, remove their free will, and let them run amok, right? Let them do the things that we want them to do. And then once they were done, they were like, oh, this is much better. Yes, this is nicely ordered. Of course, according to them, and you can read that in Odin's edicts, Odin insists that nothing can exist if it has not been ordered first. So the Titans were technically not lying when they said that they arrived on Azeroth and it was chaos. You had the elements and the old gods fighting each other and monsters and beasts running around and fighting each other. And then they came and they provided order through creating these constructs of theirs, the earthen and the like. The Titans weren't lying, because in their minds, they took these beings, these monsters that was running around, and they gave them order. They gave them purpose. These things would now serve their will on Azeroth. The old gods simply removed the ordering of the Titans. So the gift of flesh, the curse of flesh, as it is known, isn't so much a gift. It isn't a curse. It's simply the removal of order, much like you do with the Naru. It's funny that Illyria states she has only observed a few times where a Naru goes from light to void. And it is always when mortals are involved. I'll just leave it at that. But that is very, very interesting to me. That's not to say that we are of the void. That is to say that the void is most likely a natural part of us, because we are born from the mother of the void, the mother of the demons, the mother of death, the mother of life, light, and order. We are born from Azeroth. So within us, a portion of each of these cosmological forces exist. Okay? That's just a little bit of that's my theory, right? The first ones then arrive, see all of this, and they corrupt it. They co-opt it. They don't really corrupt it, depending on your view. In my opinion, corruption is a fine word to use there, but never mind. So they co-opt this, and they turn it into something else. They build the Xerath realms. They connect each of these Xerath realms to a thing called the Sepulchre of the First Ones. There, they sacrifice themselves. This is a whole video, probably in and of itself, but just in case you don't watch that one, they sacrifice themselves there in order to spread their essence throughout the universe and create these constructs that are meant to bring order to the universe. And these constructs are more or less successful depending on the powers that be. So, for example, with the demons, they were wholly unsuccessful at co-opting the demons. The demons are simply too chaotic. So it took Sargeras effectively just giving the demons purpose, because bringing order to these demons are nigh impossible. And Sargeras even speaks about how difficult it is to actually bring order. They just don't really do well with orders and, plans and stuff of that nature. They're more just like see Euro, kill Euro kind of beings. They were probably very unsuccessful with the Void and also unsuccessful with life, the three chaotic cosmological forces within our universe. Anyways, that's my theory. I'm not going to go too deep into that. If you guys want to see a video on that theory in detail, let me know down below, because I did make a video on that theory a while ago, but it has evolved over time. So if you haven't seen that video yet, let me know. I might make another one. But all right, so let's talk about the Naru and Xal'atath's Whisper. We see them as brothers and sisters, and that they will return to their masters in time. What if the Naru were indeed once beings of the Void? Servants of the Void. And what if either the Titans or the Titans equivalent within the light saw these beings and ordered them, thereby creating the Naru? This kind of ordering may actually be far more evil or maybe far more nefarious than even what the Titans did, because the ordering was done in such a way that their bodies were effectively removed. Much of their free will would be effectively removed, and they would be given the singular purpose, the purpose of spreading the light throughout the universe. It would fit, right? It would fit with specifically my theory, but it will also fit with what the Titans are known to have done on Azeroth, what the Titans are known to have done throughout the Great Beyond. It would also fit with my theory, and I should probably say this is part of the theory of everything, When you go into the Shadowlands and you speak to Mushroom Dude in Ardenweald, he claims that he was there long before the Winter Queen even arrived. In fact, he remembers a time before the Winter Queen and the other Eternal Ones even existed. Why would there be a being as ancient as that in Ardenweald remembering that if we are sold the lie by the Eternal Ones that they and they alone founded and created the Shadowlands, they and they alone are responsible for the afterlives, and that there is no other way the afterlife could exist if not for them? And yet we have a being here that claims that long before they arrived, or long before they existed, he was there, and that there was stuff there before they were there. Just a little bit of an interesting extra layer on top. You know, I've served you a little ice cream sundae. That's the cherry right there, right? Enjoy. Yeah, I think the Naru were once void creatures. Yeah, I do, actually. It makes sense. It makes that whisper make sense. They lost their way. They were ordered. They were literally ordered outside of what they were made to be, but they will return to their masters in time. It also shows why whenever they come into contact with mortals, actual mortals having the infusion of chaos within them, the Naru effectively return to their original state, which is the void state. It also kind of fits into my theory of the crystal and why the crystal is now pulsing light and void, because the crystal is of Naru design and its natural state is that of void, that of darkness. Now, onto the final bits of the video. Ural, Turalian, the Light's invasion. Maybe that's why most of you clicked on this video, but maybe you actually enjoyed everything that led up to it. I kind of had to do the history, otherwise, how the hell would any of the other things make sense? Okay. Ural has been teased for a long time. Turalian has had questionable things, like very questionable things, specifically in Shadows Rising. If you've read that book, you'd know what I mean. There's some stuff that happens there between Illyria and Turalian that seriously make you go, now, what are you doing, bro? Like, why are you fucking doing that? That's not becoming of a gentleman of good standing. Like, that would not do. Not at all. So Turalian is somewhat questionable. The light crystal being in the War Within, the fact that that crystal is there, and you can watch my video on what I think that crystal is, suggests to me that the Light have been planning their invasion of Azeroth for a very long time. The problem is that they never had the actual soldiers to do it. That's where the Army of the Light comes in. The Light required soldiers, and those soldiers work better if they're mortal. There's many mortals out there, and slowly but surely, the Light has been growing this influence. Slowly but surely, the Light has been spreading this influence, most likely through that crystal. It's always been very interesting to me that paladins and priests on Azeroth have this ability to channel and work with the Light. Perhaps that crystal spread some of its influence and touched some of the mortals very early on to teach them how to summon the Light. If you think about it, every class that exists in World of Warcraft, at least every magical class that exists in World of Warcraft, exists because of an influence from outside. One of the cosmological forces had to actively interfere on Azeroth and spread that influence, teach it to someone. Maybe this is how the Light did it. Through that crystal, it was able to spread its influence and create for itself an army right here on Azeroth. That's where the Arathians come in. Now, someone have asked me to make a video on the Arathians and their history. If you guys want to see that, also in the comment section down below, let me know. I may be, like, that would be my first ever lore video. Usually we just do speculation videos, and I have lore in those videos. But if you do want to see a straight-up lore video of the Arathians, I'd be happy to make that. They have a very interesting story. But we know the Arathians on in the Arathi Highlands decide one day it's time to go on a boat. So they get on a boat and they travel somewhere. They're off into the sunset.
You can't stop me, motherfucker, 'cause I'm on
Then they arrive somewhere. We don't know where, but they arrive somewhere. And then from there, some of them saying, no, this doesn't feel like my destination. I'm not vibing with this area. I'll keep going. And then he goes underground and they go, Crystal, we'll stay here because we have to protect this. Something is calling us to protect this crystal. I believe that Geralt Turalyon and the Army of the Light is going to be a major player at the end of Midnight. We already have Quel'Thalas. There's a lot of light source story in Quel'Thalas. I think the light is going to arrive when the void threat finally shows its face to be problematic. And when the light finally thinks that it has the opportunity to now win and conquer Azeroth once and for all for its own machinations. And that, my friends, I think will be fully realized at the end of Midnight. Towards the end, it's a middle to end of Midnight. We will get a giant cinematic of these light armies arriving inside or out of that crystal, maybe even with some of their spaceships, and then it'll be all out war. And that war will be for the soul of our planet. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And for $1 a month over on Patreon, you too can help keep this channel free from sponsorships that try to sell you shit that you do not need. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I shall see all of you in the next one. Peace.